Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Podcast. This is episode 652. It is August 28th?
27th.
27th.
It's the 27th? Shit. I have no sense of time right now. Anyways, welcome to the show. This is our final podcast of Y2K Month. So tonight we're going to be talking about nothing but games from the year 2000. I am your host, Nick Henderson. I'm joined tonight by Brad Simons.
Yo!
Christopher Guthridge.
Hello!
Nolan Hedstrom.
Ask me about my wiener.
How's your wiener doing?
It's pretty good. I didn't think you were going to ask me.
I know. I wanted to throw you for a loop. And also joining us is Christopher Davis. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
And his cats. Did you have anything you want to share about your wiener, Nolan?
No, it's a quote.
You
Nick,
seem really...
do you not know the quote?
I know.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I do. I just checking.
Okay. It's fine.
Just checking.
It's doing as great as any wiener is in 2020.
You want to check on Nolan's wiener? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes. All right. Where are we going tonight? We have so many games to talk about. I have no clue where to start. We've been playing nothing but games from the year 2000 this month for no real reason other than we wanted to. And there wasn't a ton of new stuff coming out in September. It's been 2 weeks since we had our last show.
August.
And we've all played... What did I say?
You said September.
Yeah.
It's August.
I'm sorry. August. It is still August, apparently. But yeah, we've been playing so many games since the last show, which was 2 weeks ago. So Nolan, I think, has volunteered to talk first. I don't know which game you wanna start with, but I'm just gonna let you.
Whichever one Chris Davis puts up the header for is the one I will start with.
There's actually no individual overlays tonight because I have had I've had no time.
Fuck? All right. Well, let's start with probably the most out of left field one. I'm talking about the Misadventures of Tron Bonne.
Tron Bonne.
Tron Bonne.
Is it Tron Bonne or Tron Bone?
It's Tron Bonne.
Trombone.
So I'd always been familiar with Tron Bonne just because of my dealings with her and Mega Man Legends. But I never played her standalone game, which came out the same year as Mega Man Legends 2. I think actually right before
I didn't know this was a Mega Man spinoff.
Yes. This is
me not knowing anything about Mega Man.
That's fine. So this game actually came out kind of, I don't want to say to pimp Mega Man Legends 2, but like it had a very small budget, and it's actually quite impressive with what they did with that budget. But it was one of those things where when you bought this game, it was like, oh, buy the game, and it comes with a demo for Mega Man Legends 2. It was one of those deals, which I would not be surprised if that's one of the reasons the game sold as many copies as it did, was just because people were excited.
And if you bought a copy of it, check eBay, man.
Dude, yeah, no, this game goes for a lot on eBay. I was surprised, Brad. We were actually talking about it when I was streaming 2 Mega Man Legends, that my OG, because I have an OG copy of Mega Man Legends on PlayStation that's mint, and that goes for at least like $130.
Yeah,
I could
this
imagine
one is like hundreds.
Oh no, I could imagine this one even be even more just because it was so rare. But anyway, let's talk about The Misadventures of Tron Bonne. If you were familiar,
make up your mind, Nolan.
with Mega Man Legends or Mega Man Legends 2, this is not at all those games. This is a completely different game.
It does look very different.
This part
is as close as it gets to Mega Man Legends. But essentially, how the game works is Tisel, the Tisel Bonne, I guess Tron Bonne's brother, the guy who's always hanging out with Tron Bonne in the Mega Man Legends games. He's in debt. He's in big trouble because he took out a million zenny loan.
He's in deep with the sharks.
Exactly, and he got captured, and so now you gotta collect money to rescue him to pay off his debt. And
Steal
so
money?
Tron starts to go off on these kind of adventures with her serve bots to get money so she can pay off his debt. And so, like I said, the game is actually broken up into at least 3. I don't know if there's more than that, but I've played 3 different types of mini games. So the first one is this one. It is the most Mega Man Legends-esque. You get dropped down into like a city or some sort of landscape, and you run around shooting people, cars, whatever, and you actually send your serve bots into buildings, and you're like, hey, go in that building and just collect anything that's valuable. So
You're sending your bots into homes you've just destroyed to raid the money.
Exactly. So they'll come out, but they don't just come out with money. They'll come out with like money and like fish and like random
people's
objects.
belongings.
Yeah, like random shit. Like you can tell them, hey, go.
So
attack
she's a
that.
villain.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Yes, you are playing a villain in this game. You can tell the serve bots to go attack a police car, and they'll run up to it and they'll strip the tires off of it and strip the siren off the top, or whatever, the light. And you can see them working on it. And then when you look at the car, like it doesn't have any wheels or like a light on top or anything. So you can have them do that, and you can collect those items that can be used later on for like upgrading stuff.
How many of those things do you get at once? What are they called?
Serve bots. Yeah, so it depends on the level
bots.
you're in. If you're in a level like this, you go in with 6 of them, and you actually get to choose. You have 40 serve bots on your ship, and each one has a different like special ability, and they all have different stats, and they all have different like personalities. And so that's actually one of the aspects of this game is when you're on your like main ship, you can interact with them, and sometimes they'll have special like abilities that you have to unlock. Either by bringing them on missions or giving them special items that they ask for. So that's kind of one aspect of the game. But anyway, so I'm on this very basic mission. You essentially start at point A. You have a goal to get to point B or collect X number of monies that you're trying to get. So a different type of mission.
Did I see a hamburger pop up?
You're like, yeah, I think they'll bring you like... Yeah, the little magazine.
Hamburgers and nudie mags. All right,
but
I'm in.
The other type, which I don't have any footage for, is like a puzzle type. So you'll land at least like at like a dock, like on like a harbor, and you'll have to kind of move. You're essentially trying to steal cargo, but the cargo is kind of placed in a way that it's a puzzle. So you have to move things around, shift the cargo around to make an efficient path to load it into your vessel to steal the cargo. Then you sell the cargo for money. The third type is a first-person cave digging expedition. So one of the concepts in Mega Man Legends is the concept that you are a digger. Your goal is like almost like an adventure. You go into like mines and caves and you literally dig to find valuables. So there's this concept of diggers, and so you go in there and you actually interact with other ones in these like cave systems. And so it's a first-person view, and you're kind of I don't know if we're gonna get to the footage of that. I have some footage, but I don't know if we'll get to it. But you're kind of like. Tron doesn't go in because it's dangerous. So she sends in the serve bots, and she sends in like a drone with a camera on it so she can see what's going on and direct them what to do, which is why it's in first person.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, and you'll see it right here, that it's kind of like Pikmin in the sense that you send like a little beacon at an object, and all your serve bots will run and interact with that object. And in this case, like I'm stuck on this bridge that collapsed. And so I'm going to tell the serve bots, hey, go get that truck. And so it's like Pikmin. So they all like climb up the pillar.
Yeah, that's why I asked you a minute ago, like how many you can have at any given moment.
Gotcha.
I was like, this is reminding me of Pikmin. So like sending Pikmin to like take the wheels off of cars seems really funny.
Miyamoto's such a hack.
Right? He totally stole this. 100% stole this from the serve bots and Mega Man.
Wait, what year did Pikmin 1 come out though?
That was a GameCube game, so that would have been
2001
2001
or probably 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a year or two after this game came out.
What a hack.
Coincidence? I think not.
I thought you were going to say, what year did this come out?
No, I'm not that oblivious right now.
So anyway, when you're in the caves, a lot of unique stuff happens. So there's like traps that you have to send the serve bots to like disarm. There's people you find and interact with. Some of them will be helpful, some of them not. Some of them are just assholes. Some of them will kind of like go with you on your kind of like digging mission. Help you like solve puzzles and stuff like that. And then generally at the end of every dig, you'll fight like a boss. So it'll be kind of similar to this, but once again you're controlling like a floating almost like a drone to fight the boss. And essentially you're telling your Pikmin or serve bots what to do. Hey, attack this, do this. Maybe one of the ones I fought, I had to kind of goad him into chasing me into traps that he would blow himself up.
This cop just dived out of his
Oh
car.
yeah, these
and
cops
just
are
let
like
it,
They're all doing that.
They're all doing that. They're all driving their because it's a giant robot. What are they gonna do? So they drive their cars at
suppose
me
you're
to
right.
try and hurt me. And honestly, they do a lot because I end up actually failing this mission because I take so much damage before I get to like the boss that I just get destroyed. But that's okay because it's not like it's a game over. It's just hey, mission failed. I keep the money I captured. We essentially like run away, and I just don't complete the mission, so I get to try again later. But that means I go back to my ship and I take the money that I've earned and I can either just keep it to try and pay off Teisel's debt, or I can reinvest that money into upgrades. So I can upgrade my mech here. I can get like armor upgrades and better weapons and things like that to make it easier to get money. So it's kind of like the whole when do I spend money versus when do I save money type deal. And like I said, when you're on your ship, there's not like one thing to interact with. There's, I think, 7 or 8 rooms.
is the ship like the hub in between missions?
Yes.
Is that what
Yeah, that's kind of where you saw
Okay.
me at the very beginning of this footage. I think you saw me maybe at we are planning out this mission. There's
Yeah.
there's the deck of the ship where the pilot is and where you save your game, and then there's a lab, like a research laboratory, where you can research new upgrades. There's a training center where you can actually train each individual serve bot to increase their stats. There's Tron's room, which I'm not really sure what you do in there. There's the meeting room where you plan out missions and you kind of figure out the missions you want to go on, and which serve bots you want to bring with you. So yeah, it's like I said, and this like had an extremely small budget, so it's pretty. There's a decent amount to do for how limited.
A lot of ideas
Oh, yeah.
coming together for such a small
and
budget.
it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's has the humor of like Mega Man Legends, so it's very quirky, the over the top. Tron is definitely like a very vibrant personality. Her serve bots are just fucking dummies. They are like the dumbest little guys in the world. Like the whole point of this mission was we were supposed
They're almost
to
like minions. They're almost like minions.
a lot of people were commenting on that, and that's a very unfortunate
That's 'cause they're yellow.
comparison. Yes, minions were stolen from serve bots. But
There
the
you
whole
go.
point of this mission was she was like, "Hey, serve bots, drop me in front of the bank. We'll bust in the bank, steal the money, and we'll be out of there." And then they drop me, and they're like, "Here we are," and we're like, "Cool." And then you look up, and there's like a picture of like I think it's Japanese characters, I can't remember, and then a dog and a cat, and clearly they've dropped me in front of like a vet, and we're like, this is not at all where we're supposed to be. And so we steal all the money from the vet and the houses, and then we leave. And so now this is actually the second time I'm doing this mission, and she's like, "Guys, you got to drop me at the bank this time." And they're like, "We're sorry, we won't make that mistake again." And of course, they drop you at the vet again. Like the serve bots are like the worst helpers.
I kind of wish they would drop you at a different place this time instead of but like not the bank or the vet.
Yeah, but they're all you got. So anyway, I think that's kind of the basics. You can see me getting destroyed.
How much of the puzzle mode did you play?
So I only played one level of the puzzles.
Oh.
Dude, this game was like, it is not short. I think I played the game for about 2 hours, and I've done maybe
one of
4
the interesting
missions.
things about this game, from what I understand, is you can kind of make money how you want. You can kind of focus on like the mode type that you like most.
So yeah, so when you're at your ship, you are given like a map, and it's not like one place you can go. You see a map, and it's like you can go here, you can go here, you can go here, you can go here, and you get to choose where you want to go, and you'll see the different mission type, and you'll see the potential money you can earn from doing that mission. So you'll
I heard
see
the
like
puzzle mode gets quite difficult.
I could imagine. So I played only, like I said, one level of it, and I think there was like 3 or 4 rounds. And so how that works is you literally, your mech can only move so many spaces once it's picked up a crate. So you have to plan out, how do I get from here to here? And there are certain crates that once you lift them, you actually they're not valuable, but you can't move. You can only turn, so you have to lift them and like only put them in one direction. So it's all about trying to plan out your path that you're going to take, and there are an X number of crates that you have to get. I guess technically you could always fail, but there's always like one crate that's like more valuable. Like in this case, the one I did was we were collecting beef. We were stealing crates of beef to sell, and then there was one crate of crab.
Beef crates.
So it's like, oh, you got to get the crab crate because it's worth a lot more than the beef crates. But yeah, so that was like the mission. So I spent a lot of time being like, okay, we got to get to the crab. We got to make sure we bring the crab so we can get enough money. But yeah, that's the nice thing about it. And like I said, I've only done like the first easiest set of puzzles. But I'm sure they definitely get in. The last one of that was complicated. I think I ended up having to restart the puzzle because I had kind of blocked myself into a corner. Just with how I was like moving crates, because I was like, oh well, this is obviously the solution, and I was obviously wrong. But this is
big Wazoo brings up something interesting, because I was looking at these serve bots and I was like, something about them is so familiar and I couldn't place it. They're that you can wear the heads, the serve bot heads in Dead Rising.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, Tron Bonne and her mech with all her serve bots is one of the characters in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. One of the coolest characters, and she's in the third one, I think.
So am I just completely living under a rock here? Tron Bonne to me, this is
this was a very like niche game. There's a reason this game is so rare. It breaks my heart because I walked into a half price books and I saw it in the case and I was like, oh shit! And of course, it was $300 because half price books knows what everything is worth. You know, there was a day when you can go into a half price books and they didn't give a shit.
It was the early 2010s. When Half Price Books was like, hey, how about we go online and see how much this stuff's actually worth? Because before that, yes, when you go in there, they'd be like, oh, a PlayStation 1 game? $5.
Yeah.
Like, they used to not care.
I know.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I stopped collecting, because I used to collect a lot of games, but part of that was bargain hunting, like finding rare games for like real cheap, because shops like a pawn shop or a used
they just
shop,
don't pay attention or
they didn't know. But now everyone knows. Everyone looks that shit up, and it's not fun anymore because everything's just fucking.
Yeah, it's no longer fun because now they want to charge me what it's actually
worth. That was one of the benefits of when I worked at like Game Crazy.
Goodwill just auctions it all.
Yeah, and I do. When I worked at Game Crazy, and I would just, if people didn't like the trade-in values, then I'd be like, hey, let me clock out real quick, and I'll give you a little more money.
I'll give you $15 for that copy of Tron Bonne.
Exactly. But anyway, so that's Tron Bonne. This is the mining level I was talking about. Actually, the first time I came here, I didn't have so you see the one servbot's in like a little drill cart. I didn't have that the first time, and so I could only go so far. But now that I brought, like, Tron was like, oh, I'll make a note. I'll go back to the ship and I'll make a drill thing. And so the next time we go, she's made this drill cart. And so now you can find certain walls and drill through them to get to new areas. But yeah, that's the Misadventures of Tron Bonne. I'm only, like I said, about 2 hours in. But the funny thing is out of all the games I've played this month for 2000, I was talking about it with chat. Mega Man Legends 2 and The Misadventures of Tron Bonne are the two games I'm probably going to finish.
Oh, nice.
Good.
Like, even after the month is over, I'm going to continue playing these games because they're both fantastic.
Cool. And you're going to talk a little bit about Mega Man Legends 2 tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
As well? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Do you want to talk about that now?
No, come back to me.
Someone
else. Okay. Come back to me on that.
All right. Fucking Chris Davis.
Okay.
Parasite Eve 2, bro.
Parasite Eve 2.
Taking my headphones off.
I'm first of all, let me just say, I've played. I know a little bit about Parasite. I know enough about Parasite Eve 1 because I have played that a little bit. I've dabbled in it. I've heard Brad talk about it forever, but I know almost nothing about Parasite Eve 2 other than everybody says it's dramatically different.
It is dramatically different. Have you ever played a little game called Resident Evil 2?
No.
How dare you?
I mention that because basically Squaresoft at the time, not Square Enix, Squaresoft took a good long look at Resident Evil on the PlayStation 1 and was like, we can do this. And so that.
But isn't that also kind of what Parasite Eve 1? Well, Parasite Eve 1, I guess, was more of an RPG, right?
It was more of an RPG, but like I'm talking about like from a gameplay mechanics perspective, it is Resident Evil as shit done by Squaresoft. So
gotcha.
And so this is a direct sequel to Parasite Eve 1, same main character, set 3 years later. And the thing I really like about it is that it is the logical direct continuation of what would happen from Parasite Eve 1. So it's several years.
As far as I don't even remember what happens in Parasite Eve 1.
I have no idea what happens in Parasite Eve 1.
Oh,
I remember something about New York, or like New York is there's monsters involved in New York. It happens on like Christmas or something. I don't remember.
It would take a while to explain, but basically it comes down to the fact that Lady got superpowers. Mitochondria. Lady got superpowers over mitochondria and killed a lot of people. Did a lot of bad things in New York.
Lit some stuff on fire with her mind. Isn't that
yeah,
right?
Pretty much.
Cool.
With her opera singing. Well, that was Eve.
Oh, that's right.
That's like the very beginning of the game.
Yes, that's why I remember that.
Yeah,
because I've played like 2 hours.
And
of
it had like all this cool atmosphere. It was very cinematic, amazing soundtrack. It was moody and atmospheric.
Yeah.
You know, fucking wintry night, New York City nights. You know, on Christmas time, and you know,
I think the thing that I don't want to say turned me off from it because I wouldn't go that far, but I remember something about the first game. The battle arenas were like this like dome that you kind of have to stay inside of for whatever reason.
Well, right? your like Vagrant's story, you had like an attack range that was represented as a dome. So if you had like a handgun, it would be like smaller than if you had a rifle. It would be much longer, or like a baton would be really small. But whatever. This is Resident Evil with magic. Go ahead.
Very much is. That is the perfect sentence to describe this game. It is Resident Evil with magic. So, it's like 3 years after the events of the first game. You're the main character, Aya. She is now an FBI agent, and her and her team hunt monsters from the first game that have spread across the continent.
Would you call them monster hunters?
They're MIST, the Mitochondrian Investigation and Suppression Team. But yeah, they are monster hunters. They go across the U.S. They look for signs of these beasts that were in New York that fled west, and they hunt them down to kill them. And this game, it's a direct continuation of that. You're still hunting monsters, and you're unraveling a conspiracy to create new neo-mitochondrial creatures.
But they've to create them?
Yeah, to create new ones.
That seems...
Yeah, it kind of goes from like creepy mystery in the first game to, you know,
like
organization conspiracy stuff. Very Resident Evil. The story becomes very Resident.
Very Resident.
So while it's a continuation, the type of story and the ideas that it has becomes very Resident Evil.
Yes.
And they've scrapped. Is it still an RPG at heart, and it like more of an action RPG, or is it
more of an action RPG? You're not really leveling up. You're leveling up your powers, and you're upgrading your weapons, but you're not leveling up your main character really.
Like you're not really in.
So
it's Resident Evil with spells, Nick.
I know,
but like. What I want to know, what I want to get to the bottom of, Brad tends to have a very knee-jerk reaction to Parasite Eve.
Oh my god.
A lot of people do. A lot of people do.
It's not a bad game. It's just Parasite Eve 1 was this very specific, cool thing that was very different, very unique, and was like sort of a step forward, right? Like Parasite Eve came out before Final Fantasy VIII, right?
Yeah.
So it was like it was modern times. It was New York City. There were characters that looked proportioned. This was coming after Final Fantasy VII with Lego people, you know, walking around these environments, right? And this was like, you know, it was just, you know, the original Parasite Eve was actually the concept they were going to use for Final Fantasy VII before it became like what Final Fantasy VII actually is now. Yeah, this was the idea that they were sort of batting around modern day New York City, and then they revisited this idea and made Parasite Eve. But like, and then they did like this thing where they made it Resident Evil, and then Parasite Eve just went away.
Well,
the cool thing that they created just
Parasite Eve went away, but we don't talk about what happened.
Game.
We don't want to talk about
this. Is not a particularly like scary or atmospheric game, and it's not like Parasite Eve 1 was scary, but it was like it was creepy. Like you were, you know, creeping around like the science museum in New York City at night, and like the dinosaur like exhibits started to be like come to life and, you know, become mutated and stuff, and That's just a very different vibe. You spend the back half of this game in like a very Resident Evil-y type underground like science facility.
Yes.
You know? That is not very Parasite Eve 1. That's very back end of Resident Evil. And I just that really bothered me.
Okay, I was just trying to kind of understand because I know the reaction to it was there. This is one of those. This series kind of like Dino Crisis, which I'll talk briefly about.
They're
here in
all
a couple
different.
Minutes.
All 3 games are different.
Yeah. I don't even know what the third Parasite Eve is.
Well, it's called the third birthday. It's not called Parasite Eve.
I know, but it's like but it's not a survival horror. It's not
I don't
an
even
RPG.
want to describe to you what a fucking train wreck that game is. No. We don't talk about the third birthday, okay?
It's not called Parasite Eve because they lost the license to the name. Because Parasite Eve existed as a book/movie even before the first game came out.
Yeah,
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
So
have you finished this yet?
I actually finished it last night.
On the stream?
Yes, live on the stream. I played the entire game on the stream. Except for my Monday session. So here's the thing. Here's one of the really cool things about Parasite Eve 2, is that it has branching storylines and a bunch of different endings that are designed for replaying the game multiple times.
Okay.
So there's like 5 or 6 different endings to the game based on how you explore the environments, how you interact with characters, and how good a mist hunter you are. So I was so the main reason I wanted to play this, this
was your first time playing it too,
No,
right?
this is my first time playing it. I have beaten this game quite a few times. But the main reason I wanted to play it was that there is an ultimate weapon in the game. It's Squall's Gunblade from Final Fantasy VIII.
You did all of this for a gunblade?
Hang on. First off, it is a fucking awesome weapon, but it is the hardest item in the game to unlock. You have to do a ton of things and get a very high rating multiple times in order to unlock it. So
Resident Evil.
What?
No, continue your statement. Sorry.
I was saying, so way back when, I couldn't even tell you the last time I played this game, probably at least 10, 15 years ago. I had all my save files uploaded to my PS3 from my original PS1 memory cards. I had a third clear save file that I started from. And using that, all I had to do was do one more playthrough of the game, and I unlocked the Gunblade.
And please tell me you successfully did it.
Yes, that was my entire point of playing this game this month. Do that.
Here's my question, Chris Davis. So you played through this game, right?
Yes.
And now you've unlocked the Gunblade.
Yes.
Have you done anything with it?
I tested it out.
Are you going to play through this game again?
I'm pretty tempted, actually.
When you swing it, I hope you do. When you swing it and you pull the trigger, does it do more damage?
Oh fuck yeah, it does. So yeah, its main attack is a swing attack with the blade, and then if you time it just right as the blade hits the enemy, you can pull R2 to fire the shotgun round that's in there, and you do
just like a gunblade.
Yeah, just like a gunblade, you do at least 1,000 damage. You can take out most enemies in a single attack. You can take out half the bosses in this game in like 2 or 3 attacks. So
fun.
It's fucking awesome.
I never understood the point of power weapons. And I'm a big Resident Evil fan, but I've never been one to like infinite rocket launcher, dog, the ultimate reward. But then what is the game you're playing? What
it's like what is the point? Like it's just, there's no challenge anymore. I don't know. It's more of just a reward, I guess. I don't think you're ever intended to like play through the game in its entirety again using infinite rocket launchers or whatever. I mean,
back in the day, I'm sure people did.
But here's the other thing about the replayability with this game. It's not just one replay mode. There's actually 4 different modes. So there's the new game plus replay mode, which carries over the most of your stuff and lets you start with like extra currency to get yourself boosted and started. You got
This footage is very dark, by the way.
yeah, no, that's another thing about this
It is
game.
in a cave.
It's in a cave, but this game as a whole is very, very dark. Like it is
Really? Because every time I look at it, I feel like you're outdoors and it's bright sun. In fact, when you were streaming the other night before me, I took over and I was playing Dino Crisis 2, and it looked like it was just playing the same game. Like it was a continuation. It was outdoors, jungly environments. It was weird.
No, there are some daylight environments later on in the game and very early on in the game, but 80% of this game takes place at night in dark places.
All right.
So, like, what you're seeing right here, granted, it is one of the darker areas, but it is, it can be really rough when you're playing on a HDR TV. So
I can imagine. I mean, it's luckily you're using magic and it's illuminating areas, which is nice.
But the replay modes. So you got the basic replay mode. You've got a bounty mode, which basically causes very late game enemies called golems to appear throughout the game. So it definitely increases
from the very beginning.
From the very beginning. So it definitely increases the challenge, but it's also pretty rewarding.
So you do that with the gunblade. Boom. There you go.
That's the thing.
Think this
it doesn't carry over.
Dark, but...
You can only use the gunblade in replay mode.
But you just said that was a replay mode.
Okay.
The basic replay mode.
I'm sorry. I'm asking too many questions. I apologize.
There's also a scavenge mode, and then there's a nightmare mode, and that is when they say nightmare to describe it, it is a fucking nightmare.
All right. Well, there you go.
But yeah, no, this.
But you can't play. Sorry. I'm done. I'm done asking questions. Sorry.
So yeah, this
what are you,
this is a Resident Evil style Square Enix game that has a very strong emphasis on replay value and going back and doing things over and over and over again. The half the point of this game is to play as the hunter character that you are and go through the entire map multiple times and clear out each room of monsters and use that to build your currency and your experience and build up your weapons and your powers.
That also sounds very familiar to the game I'm about to talk about very briefly.
Yeah.
What about the game?
Sorry, I'll make this really quick, Brad. He just led me into a very good segue. Because it sounds shockingly similar to Dino Crisis 2. But maybe not.
But Dino
maybe
Crisis
not,
2...
just in terms of, like, that is a game that is... One, also very different from its predecessor, because the first one was... But strangely enough, it's kind of the other way around. The first one was more of a Resident Evil clone. The second one is moving away from that into a more action-oriented game. But it's all about... It's a very arcadey action game, so you're spending a lot of time running back and forth between areas, clearing out rooms to basically grind out points.
I would call it a literal run and gun game.
This is like the first Platinum game. I always thought it was Devil May Cry, but like this thing is.
You think Dino Crisis 2 would be the first Platinum game?
Yeah,
that's
the first
assessment.
You know what? Fuck, let's just make an action game.
You're right. I mean, so I was playing this the other night, and I've played this before. Kind of like this is kind of my Parasite Eve 2 for Chris Davis. I've played this game multiple times, but it's still one of those games that every time I play it, I'm kind of like shocked by what it is, especially in comparison to the first game. Because man, there's nothing scary about this. It's just literal run and gun, and it is amazing how many enemies they're throwing at you. Oh, by the way, I'm just getting torn apart by raptors in this area, and it's surprisingly challenging. Although I think a lot of the challenge comes from right now. Like I mentioned this again when I talk about Breath of Fire later. Like one of the biggest roadblocks for me going back to play PS1 games today is going back to controlling characters in a 3D environment with a D-pad is just, it's so difficult.
This probably had analog stick support.
I tried
you have to turn it on. Well, how did you play this?
On a PS3.
You have to go into the settings and not in the game, but like the
PS3 same place where you turn on like motion smoothing and stuff.
Yeah. You got to turn on analog mode.
It didn't work.
Huh.
Yeah,
That's weird. Well, maybe because this is still tanky, right?
It is,
control.
yeah, it's definitely tanky.
Well, then,
Luckily,
of course,
there's
use
a
D-pad.
you can tap R2 to do a quick turn, which is helpful.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
it's crazy. You just like going from a game that is built so structurally like a Resident Evil game to a game like this, where like you go into different areas and you fight a bunch of enemies, you proceed through a door, and it goes. Strangely enough, it goes back to like the slow open door animation that makes it feel suddenly like you're playing a survival horror. But you're loading in between two areas that are very like fast paced and shooty and arcadey.
Yeah.
And you're racking up points. Like you get bonus points for like making it through a room without taking any damage, and you build up combos by like killing multiple dinosaurs in a short period of time. And you're constantly unlocking these like crazy weapons and like improving the magazine size, and you get sub weapons which are all unique and interesting. Like the one that I've been messing around with the most is the firewall sub weapon. So you can like throw down like this little like wall of like flames that pops up right in front of you, and enemies will just run into it and take damage. It's such a different fucking experience, the Dino Crisis one, and it's shocking. And I find it shocking every time I play it.
I think I see I don't mean to critique the way you're playing this, but
Oh, by all means, I'm terrible.
But he's
well,
going
the
to.
thing is that you literally have to play this as a run and gun game, and the way you're playing it right now in this footage is that you are stopping to fire every time. Like,
Well, you can't fight. You can't run and shoot. In this
yeah,
game.
you can.
What?
Yes, hold R1 and move, and you're running along.
Are you fucking serious?
When I say it's a literal run and gun game, that is what this game is. That's its formula.
Nick, you've never used Ripper mode?
Shut up, Nolan.
He probably just forgot. I mean, how much of this
I
did you
mean,
play?
I've played about 3 hours of it, or 2.5, I guess.
So
But, I've played it before. It's been probably like 8 years since I played it before. So maybe I just forgot. But like, really?
Yes, but that's all I've been doing as I'm playing this. I just finished the first area. I'm about to go to the next area. And yeah,
God damn it.
That's the best way to deal with a lot of ambushes from raptors and things like that. Is that
Guys, I'm turning in my podcasting license. My game, gamer. What the fuck?
yeah, the entire
I had no
the
fucking
entire
clue.
point of this gameplay system is that you have to be super aggressive. Don't stand your ground. Go after the enemy.
Yeah, and I mean, my version of that without the actual running and gunning has been to try and run past enemies and then do the quick turn to like have them all kind of in my cone of vision before I start firing. Obviously, I'm not doing a very good job of it in this footage, but you know, it's
You're bad.
it's funny because it's also like one thing I do like about it though is like, you know, you would expect like enemies will just run up to you and bite you, right? That's what they do. But like, there's a surprising number of like just out of left field attacks that these dinosaurs can do. Like they'll do this like jump, like the smaller like two-legged dinosaurs will do these like crazy jumps and like kick you, which send you flying backwards like 10 feet. Or the raptors will sometimes like just duck down real low and just like go underneath you and like flip you into the air. Like that shit's pretty cool. It's just pretty cool. One thing I will say that's driving me crazy though is like, because you're obviously running in between from like one screen to the next, and as soon as you do a cut and it cuts to the next screen, all the enemies in the previous screen just like load back in. So like you'd be in like a singular room where you can see all the doors and all the walls, and you eliminate some dinosaurs and you run and the camera cuts. All of a sudden you're in that same room, but there's 3 more dinosaurs in it, but that weren't there before. It's so jarring. But
It's all
hey,
about action.
it's all about
chaining
action
your
and,
shit, right?
and it's fun. I keep thinking to myself, like, what is the best Dino Crisis game? We all know it's not 3.
A lot of people actually say this one because
I mean, I'm inclined. I mean, this is the most fun, like the most moment-to-moment fun game in the series. But like, Dino Crisis 1 is like a Resident Evil clone, and I love Resident Evil, and that
a
I
flawed
kind of want to say
Resident
that.
Evil clone.
Sure, a flawed Resident Evil clone.
This was just fun action.
If they were to revisit Dino Crisis now, I can't decide whether I want them to make it more like this or like Dino
You make
Crisis
it like
1.
Resident Evil 5 with dinosaurs.
I'd take that. I'd fucking take that. Anyways, that's all I had to say about it. I can't believe I was been playing it wrong. Shit. Nobody in chat said anything.
Yeah. Well,
Would you
know,
want them to say
chat.
that you were ravaged by raptors?
Oh my god, last night, so this is completely off topic, but last night, so we're getting ready to move, right? So I was like going through our bookshelf and seeing what books we need to like, we might want to donate and stuff or versus keep. And I found one of those fucking raptor pornos on our bookshelf upstairs that Chai keeps sending us, or sorry, me, every year.
And Robin found out the pages were stuck together.
I was like, why is this on our bookshelf? Maybe Robin's been reading it secretly.
Maybe.
Anyways, that's Dino Crisis 2.
Do text pages get stuck together ever? I guess if it's real steamy. Usually you associate it with like nudie mags, but
I guess so.
I don't know. Yeah, I was about to make a joke about semen being sticky, but
that's not
I'm
a
just gonna-
joke.
It's true. That's true. All right, that's all I want to say about Dino Crisis 2. Let's move on. Crispy, are you ready to talk about Star Trek?
Make it so.
It's Raven
it.
Software, bro.
Damn it, Nolan. Now I don't want to talk.
Oh no!
Because of a bad Star Trek pun?
Yeah. Let's talk about Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. What a weird game that I was obsessed with in 2000. I don't know what like the thought process behind this game was. I guess it was just that like PC first person shooters were like really popular. And Star Trek was kind of like at the height of its popularity. I think this game came out around like the 4th season, maybe 5th season of the show.
Oh,
And-
Wait, Star Trek's height of popularity was during
Star
Voyager?
Trek Voyagers. height of
Okay.
popularity.
Like all the Borg stuff, right?
Right. Like season 4 is the big kind of tone shift in the show where they get rid of Kess and they bring in 7 of 9 and it just gets like real schlocky. Like they're doing a lot of Borg shit, they're doing a lot of high concept action episodes, and it kind of just becomes this other thing that's pretty controversial in Trek fandom.
I'm not looking at footage, and Chris Davis is making a face.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
Buy time.
I mean, just talk about Star Wars.
Stretch. There we go.
Oh my god.
So,
There
like-
it is.
So, like, yeah, I don't know. I've played a lot of Star Trek video games, and the only good one is FTL.
Were
Like-
you playing Star Trek the MMO, the online Star Trek Online? I thought I saw you playing that.
No. What?
That's cool, man. It's cool. Tell us about this one. Why is this one good?
I don't know.
It's made by Raven. That's why it's
And
good.
you know what? Like, it's good. This was good by the standards of the day, I feel like. I don't know how quickly you should be running out to try it now, because it does feel like this archaic kind of thing of like back when first person shooters were basically all about, like, if you weren't Quake or like, I don't know, Team Fortress or
Unreal.
Counter-Strike, right?
Right.
Then you were just like a single player on rails story focused shooter experience.
This was a
the
shooter
best kind of
post
shooter
Half-Life.
experiences.
Right. And you can see a little bit of that influence in there. Like this idea of them just like putting all the resources and like terminals on the wall, and like things kind of being like this has a lot more of like a lot less of that like kind of keep you in the action storytelling, and more like let's break out and do a cutscene here kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
So it's not very Half-Life in that way. But overall, it's a first-person shooter that's essentially an episode or like a 2-part episode arc of Star Trek Voyager that doesn't really have much of anything to do with the main show, and the show never references this thing happening. But it's kind of a neat little like Voyager style story where like they encounter a weird alien probe that attacks them, and they destroy it, and when they destroy the probe, it releases an energy wave that sucks them into this like pocket universe that's a starship graveyard that's just filled with like broken derelict ships from like all sorts of species, like everything Voyager's encountered, like some stuff that like that they haven't seen before. Like there's even like people from the Mirror Universe in here, which for people who aren't familiar with Star Trek, the Mirror Universe is like the evil alternate reality to the Federation, where everyone has goatees and
do they really have goatees?
Uniforms that
the evil people all have goatees.
Midriff. Kind of like evil Spock had a goatee. Eventually, like they never did it in the show, but eventually, like in a comic book or something, they did a Mirror Universe of the Next Generation crew, and like the Mirror Universe Picard is like buff and has a goatee, but is still bald. Yeah, I think he has like horrible like robot eyes. I don't think he has just like the visor. Sick. Yeah, he's got something that looks like really fucking weird and evil, and Data has like Borg shit all over him. Like it's fucking weird. But that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
I don't care. It was interesting.
But yeah, this is kind of a fun game. It does that weird thing though, where they just like they insert a lot of like canon that is specific to this game, but act like it's all normal, and this is like, oh, you can see this in the show, right? Like,
yeah.
So they invent this idea that Voyager has a special team of elite security officers called the Hazard Team, and they get special equipment, and they have like their own section on the ship. And
you never see them in the show, but believe me,
never even like mention the idea in the show, like never once. It happens to be commanded by Tuvok because Tuvok's the ship's head of security, and like there's one background character from like 1 or 2 episodes that they take and put him on the Hazard Team to be like, oh, see, look, it's continuity, yeah, and you're like, oh, Chell, that motherfucker, like what a wuss, what a Melvin.
7 of 9 though.
7 of 9's here, yeah. We're dealing with
Jerry Ryan, right?
Yes, played by Jerry Ryan.
Did you install that clean face mod?
I didn't.
No,
I didn't. I only did the main game. And
are their faces not clean?
That'd be funny if there was a mod just for 7 of 9 to make her look like update her assets by 10 years and everything else.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
Like she looks way better than everything else in the game. Yeah. And what's funny is like, so like they wear these special like combat tactical suits called hazard suits, and this one mission where 7 of 9 goes with you, she's wearing a hazard suit, but her suit is like customized to have high heels. Oh my god. Because like of course it is.
Because of course.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll buy it.
Because gotta keep everything like lifted and looking good, even on a dangerous mission.
Fashion is important, Crispy.
It kind of is. It kind of really is. But like the whole point of this game is just like you're stuck in this evil, dark region of space and you have to escape. And I don't even really remember how it turns out, but like it's kind of fun, and I loved this game when I was like 12, 13 when it came out. I thought it was really fun. It also had it has a multiplayer mode called Hollow Match that is essentially just Quake 3 skinned with Star Trek assets. And it's kind of fucking really fun.
Probably not as fast, but
it's
sick.
Probably it is kind of, yeah, it's probably not.
Can you still
fast,
play it?
But they do have a lot of what?
Can you still play it?
Yeah, actually, some like fan modders made an updated version of it a few years ago, and like added new netcode and everything to it. So like,
I bet everybody playing it's an asshole.
There at least there was a like free fan version of it. I wouldn't be surprised if CBS shut them down by now. They kind of done that a lot. It's really fucking lame. They're kind of like Nintendo with their shit, where I don't know, lately any really cool fan project that's come out, they've just kind of like DMCA'd and cease and desist them.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game is, for me, it was a really fun nostalgia trip. I don't know if any of you are going to get anything out of it, but this is a Ravensoft game.
I like the look of this game. Honestly,
it seems very linear.
It's super linear. It's super linear, and like they kind of go out of their way to be like, like, oh, let's make environmental puzzles that you have to solve, but it's usually like you just got to find a tube to crawl in and like hit a button. Like it's nothing on the level of like what you would see in like Duke Nukem 3D or like in classic Doom or something like that. Which is a little disappointing, but it is a pretty interesting Star Trek experience.
Would this be considered like an early Ravensoft game? I can't remember how long they were around making games.
I mean,
this
they've been around. They were around in the 90s for sure.
But this is like, when they were doing this, and they were doing like they did fucking what Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy and all that shit.
Oh, I didn't know
this,
they did
This is
those.
when they were making video games,
Dude,
and they
made
weren't
a
just
lot
like
of games back in the day.
They weren't just like a fucking QA support studio for whatever Call of Duty's coming out this year. Which
I mean, I've always had a soft spot for their Wolfenstein game.
They're the Heretic and Hexen guys.
Yeah, I mean, they're a pretty dope ass studio. It really is a shame that they have been relegated to doing support development for Call of Duty, like you said, because man, they had some cool ideas. And even as someone who doesn't have a ton of experience with Star Trek, like I like the look and kind of just general atmosphere of this. You know, I can't hear it, but it looks pretty dope, and it looks like a Ravensoft game, and it looks like a fun shooter at the very least.
You know,
so
under
Oh, I don't know if anybody else heard that, but Chris Davis sounds very
Oh my
garbled.
god, Chris is a Borg!
He's been Borg.
He's a Borg!
Resistance is futile.
He's been assimilated or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
your mic sounds kind of fucked, Chris Davis.
The Mega Man Legends
Biological
games, that was some peak
technological.
Raven.
See, it's like, I don't know. This is like, it is kind of interesting. Someone in chat was like, I wonder if the setting ever changes, and it does. Just, yes, believe me, it's not all just like this dreary Borg cube. It's all sorts of dreary spaceships that you go to. Like, basically every like block of levels is like another ship that you're infiltrating in this ship like graveyard. So you do see a lot of like kind of differences, but like the way enemies behave doesn't ever really change. It's always kind of like this monster closet formula where it's like you step into a room and a bunch of enemies attack you and you're like, bam, 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 bam.
Were you looking at 7 of 9's feet?
Yeah, I was trying to show the like tactical high heels.
Sure
she
you
was
were.
wearing.
I think I saw you take a screenshot.
She's got good feet.
Of the
what can I say?
It's like, damn.
Is she on that?
Damn, girl, you walk with those feet?
Among other things.
Shit. Yeah, it's like I don't know.
Joseph has appeared in chat. It's like he felt someone talking about Jerry Ryan's feet, and he just showed up out of nowhere.
Like,
I'm looking at pictures. Y'all have questions?
The last little
I'm
bit
not
of
really a
interesting
foot guy.
trivia I learned about this game while I was researching this is that I had completely forgotten about this, but this game uses the original TV show's introduction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it does the whole credit sequence of like Voyager flying through all these really picturesque sights in the Delta Quadrant and stuff like that, right? But for whatever reason, I don't know exactly what it was, but there's some reason, like some kind of rights issue, where they weren't allowed to use the theme song from the show. They're not allowed to use the Star Trek Voyager theme song, but they do the Star Trek Voyager intro, so they just had some guy like make a song that kind of sounds like it.
That's always the worst.
It sounds really weird to me, but like I was like looking it up, and I went on YouTube and was like looking up the Elite Force version of the Star Trek Voyager sound theme, and you go find this on YouTube, and like the comment section is just like 100 people like, oh my god, I love this so much more than the TV show version. They should just use this for the TV show. And I'm like, it's so fucking weird. Like I don't know.
That is a strange take, I would say.
It's very weird. But Star Trek fans are real frustrating like that sometimes. So what can I say?
What, fandoms being frustrating? I don't know what you're talking about. Cool. All right.
Why?
Well, unless there's any objections, I think we're going to take a quick break so Chris Davis can fix his microphone. And then when we come back, Brad, you want to talk about Valkyrie Profile?
No.
Cool. I can't wait to hear about it. Anyways, we're going to take a short break. We will be back in a second. If you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We have more video games to talk about. Done talking about the Batman. Brad, I want to hear you talk about your shitty JRPG night.
Oh, well, that's not Valkyrie Profile. Come on.
I know that was.
No, I can talk about it briefly. I played a couple hours of Chrono Cross, and I played a couple hours of what is that one called? The Legend of Dragoon, and it was kind of interesting and enlightening, and it reminded me of how things were back then, because the Legend of Dragoon, I played that one first and it seemed kind of cool, right? The battle system was tricky. I mean, the timing gets kind of tricky.
The timing gets crazy towards the end of that game.
Yeah, I mean, even at first it was tricky because you have to time your attacks to do like combos and stuff, right? But I was kind of impressed just because, hey, like an old JRPG, I like those. This one looks cool. It's doing some cool stuff. And then I popped in Chrono Cross, which is a game I don't really like. I didn't really like back then, but I never finished it, or I never even got off the first disc. That was like,
you never even got to the Dead Sea.
It made the Legend of Dragoon look really dated in comparison. Chrono Cross is a very like attractive,
good-looking
JRPG.
It's a good-looking game.
Yeah,
Square Enix threw some fucking money at that thing, and it's bright and colorful, and the models are really detailed, and it's just like, it's just so beautiful.
It
made Legend of Dragoon look really drab in comparison, but I mean that was a cool looking game too. And like the music was so much better. And
is the dislike for Chrono Cross stemming from the fact that it has the word Chrono in it, and it's always going to be compared
that's a big
to Chrono
part of
Trigger?
That's a big part of it.
Like if it didn't have Chrono in it, how would you feel about that game?
I've never even gotten off.
We had a conversation in Discord about that not too long ago, about the fact that a lot of the distaste for Chrono Cross is the whole that it's kind of, and I know it's not, it's more than kind of a spiritual successor, and I know it kind of follows up with the after effects of the things that occur in Chrono Trigger, but if they literally would have just called it something completely different, it would have been way higher rated and there would have been less distaste for it. Let me put it that way.
Because maybe that's why I played that game back in 2000 when it came out, or maybe shortly after that, and I love that game.
So, Nick, you
and I have never touched
you and I are in the
Chrono
same
Trigger.
situation that when I first played Chrono Cross, I had never heard of Chrono Trigger. I didn't have the internet back then. I didn't have, elite gaming magazines. All I had was Nintendo Power. So the games I found out about were when I went to fucking Funko Land and I was like, hey, Mr. Funko Land guy, what's a good game? And he's like, oh, Chrono Cross. And I was like, cool. And he gave me Chrono Cross and I played it. And I was like, this is amazing because I'm not coming off the trails of Chrono Trigger, which, don't get me wrong, in my opinion, is a superior game. But I didn't go into Chrono Cross with that effect, with that in the back of my mind. I went in with this is just a unique game, and I loved it.
Also, here's the thing about Chrono Trigger. I mean, there's a lot of things to say about Chrono Trigger, but one thing that really separates these games is Chrono Trigger is this very, it's a very well-paced, easy to understand, like fun time traveling jet setting story where you're going from like location to location, time to time, and it's like, oh, you're in dinosaur time, and oh, you're way in the fucking future, and it's just, and at the end you're doing all these side quests and you're going back in time and you're changing time, and it's like this cool breezy game. It's like a cool 25 hours, right? Like you get to Chrono Cross and it's very like a PS1 RPG, with it's like at least twice as long, and it's got this really convoluted story with all these fucking, it's just very PS1.
It was
and
way too ambitious.
People just wanted more, the time traveling Dragon Ball looking characters game, and it's so not that. It's just so different. It's so different. If you told someone this was a, if it didn't have Chrono in the title, I don't even think anyone would ever even think it's related to those games.
I agree.
At all. So yeah, I mean, look, Chrono Trigger was a one-off, and people never felt like they really got the sequel that that game, of course, deserved. It's one of the most beloved games of all time. And, you just get mad at Square Enix thinking about it because what the fuck? How did that happen? It's so beloved. Yeah. That's crazy.
I really want to play it.
But whatever. Legend of Dragoon was fine. I mean, it's cool. I mean, that
was your first time actually playing that game, right?
It was a very positive night.
After years of busting my balls for loving it so much. This was your first time playing it?
I played maybe, I guess I played a bunch of the demo back in the day. I don't recall owning it back in the day. So, no, I've never really played much of it. But, I don't know. I struggle. So here's the thing, and this will lead me into Valkyrie Profile, is I figured out how to stream the Vita, which is apparently like really easy, and I had no idea, and I'm frustrated that I didn't know it sooner. So instead of playing, I have both games on my PlayStation, and I was going to play him on the whole CRT, but then I was like, well, let's get him on my Vita. And what I'll do is at the end of that night where I play both Chrono Cross and Legend of Dragoon, I'll decide which one I liked more and continue with that one, keep playing.
Oh, okay.
And I was going to do that, and they're both ready to go on my Vita, of course. But then I decided, well, actually, I'm going to finish Valkyrie Profile because that's the one game from this month that I really sort of fallen for. And, about 25 hours into Valkyrie Profile now, and I'll probably be finishing it up in the next, half a dozen hours because it's not like a super long game, but it is certainly unique. So,
just out of curiosity, before you roll too far into Valkyrie Profile, if you had stuck with that decision where you had to pick between Chrono,
I don't know.
Cross,
honestly,
know?
I have no idea. I have no idea. It was very close, but I enjoyed both that night. So this is Valkyrie Profile, and you play as a Valkyrie called Lyneth. And let me tell you, this game is not what I was expecting. And I have owned this game for a long time, and I did start it. But when you start this game, it's very, there's a lot of cutscenes, and there's a lot of story. And I thought it was okay, a PlayStation 1 JRPG. I know what this is. I did not know what this is. If someone were to call this not a JRPG, I might accept that, because this is what... I'm going to have to, set up what you do in this game, because... or the story of this game, because the story and the setting is very much related to what you're actually doing in the game. You play as a Valkyrie. It is very much based on, kind of Norse mythology or whatever, right? And Odin sends you down to Earth, or, the land of humans or whatever, right?
It's called Earth, yes.
To recruit people, send them up to Valhalla to fight in fucking Ragnarok.
Okay.
And that's literally what you're doing in this game. You go down to Earth, you're flying around the world map, you do this thing where you hear voices or whatever, and that'll point to a location, and then they're like, go here, right? And it'll be a story vignette, which I think you're about to see one. They're not very long. And they pretty much all involve, they all involve someone dying, because you go to recruit these people when they die and say,
right,
I'm going to train you. I'm going to send you up to Valhalla. You're going to fight for Odin, right? And,
makes sense.
And it's cool because one of the coolest aspects of this game is sort of this atmosphere, because it's all about death. And a lot of them are suicides and stuff. It's there's a sad, melancholy, just vibe running through this whole game. And I think that's a big part of maybe why people kind of really dig this story and this setting. Mm-hmm. That this story set, but because the actual translation is not amazing, and believe me when I say there's not actually a ton of story in this game. It might surprise you to hear that this is a very systems-driven game. This is not a traditional JRPG at all, where you're walking from fucking town to town and meeting characters and having a lot of cutscenes. You're about to get a backstory for this character, and when it's over, that's pretty much it. Then you recruit her, and now it's time to go into dungeons, train her up, boost her skills and her traits. She might boosting her skills and stats like in battle, but also like she has character flaws, right? And you're spending experience to make like a character flaw like a positive one, or to like maybe she's really courageous. You want to boost that up because when you send them up, because Freya, she comes down, and this is a game on a time limit, right? Where you have like 128 days or whatever, or time periods or whatever they call it, to before this war starts, and you need to have trained up your Einherjar. That's what the game calls them, Einherjar. Right? Maybe that's some Norse mythology shit. And she comes down every so often, Freya, and gives you like evaluates how you've been doing, how the war's going, and you need within that chapter before that time Freya comes down, you need to have trained up a character or two and sent them up to Valhalla. And once you do that, they're gone. There's a lot of characters in this game that you can recruit through these like story vignettes and stuff. And there's like numbers and stuff, right? Like you have an evaluation level that is based on like how good, Freya thinks you're doing. And sending up characters, you don't have to send up characters. You don't, but the more you do, the more like currency she gives you to like to like buy items and create items, and there's so much like you go into the menu and it's a lot. It took me a while to really get used to like all the stuff in this game. I didn't realize that this was like a, like not a meters game, but like a game about, like mathematically being successful at completing this game.
So out of curiosity, Brad, just kind of based on the stuff you've been talking about, is there a way to like hit like a failure point where it's like, oh, you're at,
yes. You've only
recruited so many so far at this point, like there's no point in you continuing on with the game because you're done.
Well, that's what leads you down a path of Freya and Odin saying you're not good enough and coming down to kill you. I think you fight like Freya and then you get the bad ending or something. But here is the thing about Valkyrie Profile. And if you talk to a Valkyrie Profile fan, which by the way, I am now, and I have owned the sequel as well, and I'm going to play that. Here's the crazy thing about Valkyrie Profile. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about Valkyrie. Actually, no, I don't own the PlayStation 1 game anymore. I own the PSP one. I'm actually playing the PSP one here on Vita. I had to sell it, and that made me really sad. I had the PS1 game. It's very expensive and rare. But here's the deal. Here's the deal. If you say you're going to play Valkyrie Profile and you tell a fan, they're going to say, well, what ending are you going for? The thing is, I hate games with multiple endings. And I thought this was something very different. And I thought it was like, whoa, am I going to go for the good ending or the true ending or whatever? It's not what you think it is. This is what's so brilliant about Valkyrie Profile. And I'm going to spoil things a little bit because, whatever. You aren't going to go back to play Valkyrie Profile not anytime soon. And it doesn't matter because you need to know this. I'm kind of playing this game with a spoiler-free guide because here's the thing. If you play through this game normally, how 99% of people would probably play through this game on a first playthrough, they're playing a game with very little plot going on. It's a very system-driven, a very mechanics-driven game. Go down, recruit these characters, go into these dungeons, train them up, and I'm about to go into a dungeon and you'll see, and then send them up to, fight in Ragnarok, right? And at the end of the game, Odin's like, you fucking did good. Game over. But there's not a lot of main plot at all. Just these small, sad little story vignettes of people fucking killing themselves, right? That's it. Until you realize that the whole point of the story, the whole actual story in this game is hidden away. It's fucking hiding. And you don't know that unless you're really paying attention. And a lot of people believe you can't just pay attention. You have to kind of use a guide. Here's the thing. Lynette, the main character, has this thing in her stat screen called a seal rating. It's called her seal stat. And as you play through the game, it'll kind of go up and down, and you don't really know what it is. The game doesn't explain, and the game doesn't explain to you what it is, and I don't think it wants you to know, or at least Odin doesn't want you to know. The true ending of this game is actually uncovering the actual story of what's going on, which involves her memories, which have been sealed away, and you trying to bring, and you notice that when you recruit some certain characters that you know are related to her past, characters that recognize her but you don't recognize them, when you get those events, those story little vignettes, her seal rating will drop. And the trick is to bring her seal rating down so low to where all of a sudden memories come flooding back. The real story happens in the game, which I swear to God, most people are never even going to see. That's when the actual plot of the game starts, and it's hidden away. Not in any other game I've ever seen, because
you're actually experiencing this because you're privy to it.
Yeah, because that's the thing.
Okay.
I've always heard about this, but I've never really understood what's going on. And it's kind of bold for a game to do something like that, to actually hide away its plot. Like I said, almost you need a guide. There is a prologue to this game where you play as the main character as a child. That prologue is a menu option on the main screen when you start the game. You don't even have to watch that. If you don't watch that, you don't even know that she even has much of a past. But if you watch it, all of a sudden you're like, okay, so I should know who those characters are because they were in that cutscene when I was kids at the very beginning of the game. And, Linda, you see how she dies, basically. And it's crazy to think that you can play this game as just a very items and systems and experience and leveling up and just finish the game and go, hey, that was fun to play. But then there's this whole story, and it's very, I'm not even fully, I'm approaching a point to where everything's going to start. Basically, what I understand is Lynn's going to kind of figure out what's really going on. And from what I understand, it involves Loki, the trickster god, which makes a lot of sense. But again, you wouldn't even know that. I
mean,
we haven't really talked about the combat in the side-scrolling dungeons, which we talked about Indivisible recently, right? That is a game that takes the side-scrolling dungeon crawling, that takes the combat system where you have all the different characters, they're mapped to the face buttons, you're trying to string combos together and keep them going. The mechanics of this game are very unique, obviously. Indivisible very specifically cribbed from that and made sort of a spiritual successor, but they only made a combat spiritual successor to Valkyrie Profile. All the stuff about the structure of the game and this hidden story and sort of the fucking melancholy atmosphere and whatever, that is not in Indivisible at all. So I think the stuff that Valkyrie Profile fans actually fall in love with is the combat. But it is also this whole other thing that Indivisible doesn't even try to grapple with. So I don't want to say that Indivisible misses the point. It's just focused on the shit you're seeing here, which admittedly
honestly, this
is very
this
cool.
sounds like a kind of a rare example of maybe it's more rare these days. It's like the kinds of risks you can take in game development. I don't know if any.
It's the kinds of risk you only see in the indie scene anymore.
Yeah, I don't think anyone outside of the indie space could take money out of their budget, spend it writing a story, knowing that a certain percentage of their audience is never going to see it.
A large portion. It's probably designed to be like a replay sort of thing.
What about
but even on
Nier?
Nier is probably one of the few rare examples of. But again,
even the creator of Nier and Automata is saying you got to keep playing. Those credits aren't really credits.
And also, Nier didn't really become what is considered the quote unquote AAA space until the sequel. The first one was very niche, not quite indie, but definitely not.
Well, I was specifically referring to Automata.
Yeah.
Well,
both I think that's
I know both have multiple endings, but I was specifically just because it is a more modern game. It's something that came out in the past few years. But yes, I agree with you that in most cases people don't want to. That's also a weird way to tell a story as well. Hiding your story is a weird way to tell it. Most people want the story to be up front because that's what draws.
Which is kind of the cool thing about video games.
Hidden, and that's what's so clever. This is a game about systems, and it's hidden within the systems, and that is fucking.
But Brad,
cool.
do you think that? So this, I don't want to say this came out post-internet because obviously the internet was around back then, but there were much fewer people going to the internet to watch someone stream a game. Obviously it didn't exist.
Maybe they weren't
there was
using
a
the
few
internet
message
the same way.
boards. I know, that's what I'm saying. Do you think they maybe put it out in that time because in that time the world was a little bit different? You would probably buy this game, play it, a year later would be talking to a friend and they'd be like, oh, did you find out this? And then you're like, what are they talking about? And you go back and replay the game and find that. Whereas I think nowadays that is much less likely to happen. Like
if this game came out today, like people would be talking about that hidden shit. In like 2
day
days.
one. Day one.
You're right. You're right. They would, but I think people would be very excited about it, like in the ways they are about stuff like Nier, and I think it would really, or like Undertale or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. Like this feels like a lot like like a pacifist playthrough in Undertale, for example. You got to do something very specific, but once you do, you realize that you're doing something significant, and I mean. Also, the music's awesome and it looks great. Look at the sprite work, right?
Dude, I would say this: 2000 had some amazing looking JRPGs, just across the board. So many good ones.
But it's
several of which we talked about tonight.
It's so. I will say that like this is not a perfect game. Like it's very like imbalanced. And you'll go into dungeons and they'll be like extremely easy. Then you'll go to a dungeon, it'll be like fucking insanely difficult. Or you're like transmuting items, right? That and you're creating items and you're transmuting items, and there's just fucking items and numbers out the wazoo. And it's like you'll get a weapon, and you're like, why is this weapon like 10 times more powerful than all my other weapons? This seems wrong, but you just have it and it just is. And now this dungeon, you're just going to one-shot everything. And you're like, this doesn't even make sense. I mean, it's insane.
Quick question.
It's fun.
Are these other characters that so I see Lenneth in there.
Yeah,
but there's 3 other characters in the battlefield. Are those the people that you've recruited?
Yeah. Yeah, these are various Einherjar that I'm training up to sing.
How many different characters are there?
I think there's like 20 something. I think there's like 20 something, but it's crazy. It's like you get more rewards for sending more people up to Valhalla. You can't even start the path of this secret ending if you're sending up like more than a single person per chapter. So you have to play this game. You have to like ride this line between not completely pleasing Odin, but not pissing off Freya so much that she's just going to come down and kill you. So you have to like be doing well enough, but not too good and not too poorly. And that's why people say you kind of got to play it with a guide to know what's going on. But like,
it's fascinating. I had no idea this game was
that's
like
the thing.
This.
It is fascinating. And the sequel, I've heard good things about the sequel. I've owned the sequel.
That's the PS2 one, right?
PS2 one. It fixes a lot of like, and I think it improves a lot of the gameplay stuff. And I've been watching some footage of the sequel, and like the way they change the battle system, they make it sort of like 3D, and you're like moving around a battlefield, and there's like enemies that you're going to avoiding. There's like bosses on the battlefield, even though it's still side scrolling. Between that is like, it looks really fucking cool. So I'm excited to play the sequel, and I'm going to finish this game, and I am going to start the sequel because I am now officially fascinated by this series.
It looks really cool. I had no idea it was like this, but quite honestly, but it's one of those games I've always been curious about. But man, God, some of the attacks in this, like the attack animations, look fucking incredible for the time.
Yeah. For sure.
This looks rad.
Really cool.
I want it. Okay. Well, real quick, since we've been talking about JRPGs, I've played a little bit of a JRPG this month.
I almost played this one as well.
Not a ton. Actually, the reason I decided to play it was because you brought it up. It's a game I've wanted to play. I owned it. I just never really played much of it at all, or maybe I never played it at all. I can't really remember. But you had played it, and then you had decided to go a different direction. I think you decided to move forward with Valkyrie Profile, and you didn't end up playing this one.
Well, what I heard is that you were going to try it, and I was like, well, for 2000 month, it doesn't make sense for us to all be playing the same game, so I decided to play something different, yeah.
So I'm playing Breath of Fire 4, which is a series that I have no prior history with at all, even though I've kind of seen a few of them in the past and shown interest in playing them. I've never tried them. And this is obviously a game that came out back in the day. I mean, it came out in the year 2000, which is back when I was at that time, I was much more into JRPGs than I admittedly am today. So going back and playing this, one, I will say part of the attraction of this game, I think, is the way it looks.
Yeah.
It's another JRPG that came out in the year 2000 that I think has an incredible art style.
I think
but
all these games were so late in the PS1, which was, I think, very limited hardware. So you had developers kind of thinking outside the box to make something look cool late in the PS1's life. You know what I mean? Before you started getting into the raw power of the PS2, and I think it led to a lot of really cool.
I mean, honestly, I think JRPGs on the PS1 are just kind of just generally speaking some of the most like standout. I don't know. They just have this very distinct look to them.
Some of them look like ass. Like I don't think Legend of Dragoon looks bad, but like it's doing something very different than like Valkyrie Profile was, or this game is doing visually. It's trying to like go toe to toe with like Final Fantasy, but without quite the budget. And I think you notice, but
yeah, and I will say Breath of Fire 4 is definitely a more traditional JRPG, especially coming off of something talking about Valkyrie Profile. This is much more familiar, I guess, to anybody who's maybe a fan of Final Fantasy and those kinds of games. But I'm. It's been so long since I've let myself get into one of these games that it's really nostalgic and going back and playing. I am struggling, like I said earlier, with Dino Crisis. This is another game that I'm playing with a D-pad. I don't think, Chris Davis, you can play this game with a D-pad or with an analog stick.
That's hard to believe.
Can you?
I mean, most games.
Am I playing games wrong?
Most games in the year 2000 were on PS1 were using the analog stick.
Yeah, I was trying to turn on analog. I swear to God, if I find out this is also a game I could have been playing with analog, I'll be mad. But anyways,
the DualShock controller came out in 97. So
I know, and I'm using a DualShock 3. It's strange. Like I kept trying to tinker with those global settings. Like that's where. God damn it! I'm gonna go try this again tonight, and somehow I'm gonna get it working. I'm mad. But anyways, Breath of Fire 4. It's pretty cool. You turn in your main character is you find him stranded in a desert, and he can turn in. He has some relationship to dragons. He can turn himself into like a dragon man or something. I don't know. It also seems
which
very
is weird.
similar.
Other Breath of Fire games, you turn into an actual dragon, like in combat. Yeah,
he turns into like a person that looks like a human dragon.
He turns
hybrid.
into a dragon instead of a horse with no name.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God. But yeah, and mechanically speaking, I'm not sure the combat system is not like, blowing my skirt up. It's serviceable. It's fine. It looks great, but like it's not anything like crazy original or anything. I think that this game gets by a lot because of so far. I think it has a pretty interesting story. I'm into it that way, and I think just it's pulling me through primarily with the way it looks and the presentation and the world. Which has this very distinct style to it.
This seems very Xenogears in the way that your characters are obviously sprites, but the world is 3D, and you have to, and the camera isn't such where like the environment doesn't care what angle you're at. You just have to move the camera around to kind of navigate.
Yeah, you tap
It's
L1
very
and R1
Xenogears.
to shift the camera in like 45-degree angles and it circles around the map, and that kind of changes your perspective on everything. And like the sprites themselves are very detailed. They're very like anime-esque, and they look really good. Combat, I'm still probably a little too early to kind of really know like how deep the combat goes or what makes the combat particularly interesting. I only have 4 playable characters now, but I know you can swap. You can only have 3 active characters at once, but you can choose to swap in and out the characters so they have the front, which is the front 3, which is the primary using, and the back 3. The back 3 obviously can't attack, but when people are back there, they slowly regain ability points. So you can kind of strategically like use abilities up front, and then when someone runs low on abilities or ability points, you can swap them with someone in the back, and they'll slowly recharge those ability points so you can
Are,
bring them back into
are
play
all the
later, but
enemies 3D like this?
kind of, yeah.
I like the
I mean,
look of this game for sure.
I like the art
No,
style.
yeah.
That robot's
the
cape
game-
blowing in the wind.
The game looks fantastic, and the characters are really likable so far. But yeah, this I forgot what his name is because I just met him last night. But he's a little robot
The trash
dude.
can?
He talks. Yeah, he's like a little trash can dude, but he's a robot. But he talks about himself in the third person. He has this cool cape, and when he shoots when he attacks, he like shoots his hand like a rocket.
Rocket
And then
punch.
it comes back to him. Yeah, like rocket punch. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I don't have a ton more to say about it because I'm probably just not far enough. This is one of those games like I said, it's been on my radar for so long. I've just had such a crazy month. I haven't been able to play give it as much time as I would like, but I might try and keep going with this. We'll see if it sticks. But like you said,
keep
Brad,
going if it's on a PS3. You need to get a Vita again, man. Vita is life.
how much are Vitas anymore?
know.
You had a
know.
Vita.
But here's the thing.
I know,
the
it's
perfect
gone.
PS1 machine if you get the proper grip.
Yeah, but I gotta find one now and pay for it with money.
Okay, well, I mean, they're not that expensive. Jeez.
I know. You probably get them for like $50 right now.
Not
Well,
on
maybe a
eBay.
little.
They're at least $100 on
What?
eBay.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
I mean, also
$100
COVID
is-
times. I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, I'll get a Vita just so I can play Lumines again on my Vita.
It looks like
'Cause
they're
that
going for
Lumines game-
between 150 and 200, somewhere
Yeah.
around there.
The thing about Vitas is they're really easy to mod and apparently really easy to stream directly from. So I use it as my PS1 machine, my PSP machine.
I will keep it in mind. But yeah, the thing is, like, I don't want to start this game over again.
No, I
So
know.
I'm pretty sure
I know.
My PS3 has been out for quite a while. I actually packed my PS3 up to move, and then I decided I was going to play Breath of Fire 3, and I took it back out and rehooked it up. So it's going to stay here. I'm going to keep playing this. It's pretty good. It's probably slow going, but it's a pretty good game. Nolan, you had another game you want to talk about? You want to talk about Mega Man Legends
Before I do that,
2?
let me briefly mention two other games I played this month that I didn't even devote a full stream to. Well, maybe one of them was a full stream. No, it wasn't. So briefly, let me just talk about. I don't think on the last podcast I talked about Harvest Moon, did I?
No.
Okay. So let me.
I think you had trouble getting it running.
Yeah, that was it. Let me briefly talk about Harvest Moon. So Harvest Moon Back to Nature. It was a 2000s game. I had never played a Harvest Moon game before. A couple years ago, Brad was like, "Hey, check out the Stardew Valley game," and I was like, "Everyone talks about Harvest Moon. I'll check out the Stardew Valley game. Play it. I love Stardew Valley." So now 2000 month, I'm like, "Oh, finally get a chance to play a classic Harvest Moon game." Yeah. The game's a piece of shit. It's one of those things where I don't think in the year 2000 it was bad. I think in the year 2000 it was just okay. And then I can't ever remember his name. I'm sorry. Concerned Ape, the guy who developed Stardew Valley, his love for Harvest Moon was there.
Which you just said sucks.
Well, the thing is, he was like, here's all the things that make Harvest Moon bad.
Yeah.
I'm going to make them good in Stardew Valley. Yeah. So Stardew Valley is literally all of the good from Harvest Moon, and then it takes all the bad from Harvest Moon and turns it good and adds it back in and makes it great.
They squeezed the good out of Harvest Moon into a new product.
So some of the stuff that kind of is frustrating in Harvest Moon is there's all these like hidden stats, all these hidden things that you can't see. And it doesn't really tell you what's going on. It doesn't make sense. Versus Stardew Valley, it just fucking tells you. Like, if you're interacting with someone who can be, like, not even just a love interest, anybody, it literally gives you a meter of how much they like you. It is not a, like, oh, I'm not really sure, like, based on this kind of thing. What? Like, what's up, Brad?
By the way, this was very, like, Hellraiser cute.
Yeah,
I really
a little
liked
bit.
that.
Thank you. So that was my frustrations with it. And it was one of those things where, like, there's a fishing mini game and it just doesn't make sense. Like, sometimes I'm catching things and sometimes I'm not, and I don't understand it. And like you, like, when you go to water something, like you're trying to water plants, well, if a plant is a certain size, you can't step through it, but the game never explains that. And you can't, if you buy 9 seeds, you can't plant 9 things. You have to build a 3x3 grid, and you throw all the seeds up in the air and they plant. But then 2 days later, when they've grown, you can't water the middle one anymore. So go fuck yourself. And it's just like all this little stuff that the game just doesn't explain at all. I don't know, like it's frustrating. And yes, I understand it's an older game, whatever.
So I played.
Never...
I never played Back to Nature, but I played Harvest Moon 64, and this is supposedly, for the vast majority, a port of that's expanded.
Wait.
I don't think you. So you do get item upgrades and tool upgrades later in the game.
I know you do. I know. You get upgrades for like your watering can so it can reach farther and stuff, similar to Stardew Valley.
Okay,
But here's the thing: in this game, you start out with a rucksack of size 3, which means you can carry 2 things in your back. Sorry, size 2. You can carry 2 things in your backpack, and you can hold 1 thing, and that's fucking it. And that is ridiculous. Like day 1, you were already picking up more than 3 things, and it's like ridiculously expensive to upgrade that. And it's all this little like it's just quality of life stuff that makes the game frustrating. It is tedious. It is a lot of running back and forth.
It sounds like this is a situation where like Stardew Valley has basically just kind of rendered something like Harvest. I bet when Stardew Valley didn't exist, this may have been like
it was probably
palatable?
the shit. Everyone probably loved it. I've always heard good things about Harvest Moon.
Yeah, but you know, there's still like modern Harvest Moon games that I think are coming out.
That is a conversation I had with chat. There actually is on the Switch a re-release of this game, but like completely redone with better a lot of improvements. I know there are better ones, but this game from 2000 I am done with. I'm never going to play again. Yeah. Like it is
Back to Nature. This one's called Back to Nature, right?
Yes. There's a bunch of them. Yeah.
Is Back to Nature considered like the best?
I don't even know.
No,
I've heard good things about A Wonderful Life. I mean, there's lots of them.
But here's the thing you have to realize.
Friends of Mineral Town.
Yeah, you have to realize with this franchise is that it's actually 2 different franchises. You've got Harvest Moon, and then you have Story of Seasons. So
yes, I know. I did talk with Chad about that. Let's not get into it. I don't want to spend too much time on this one. I wanted to kind of just briefly.
You had 2 games.
I didn't have a lot of fun with it. So the other one that I wanted to talk about, I don't have any footage of it, is Wario Land 3. So I had never played a Wario Land game before. Kind of always been on my to-do list. I've always heard
pretty unique.
They're good games. But yeah, so I did not know what to expect from this one, but it's not what I expected. I didn't realize it was going to be Metroidvania-esque, in that you are Wario and you're going through a level, but there's lots of things that block you from progressing because you don't have certain abilities, and you literally can maybe do like one thing in this level, and then the level ends and you go to another level, and maybe you'll get something that will let you do something else, or maybe you'll just learn almost Swapper-esque, where it's like, oh, you kind of always had the ability, you just didn't know how to do it, type thing.
That's the one you're often like deforming yourself. You're letting an enemy like squash you, and now you can
want
like
an enemy to attack you because Wario can't die. He's like, I guess, immortal. So instead of, an enemy sets you on fire and you die or lose health, you now have to take your fucking like freaking out on fire body and move it to somewhere that you can burn something that now you can interact with a new area. Or when a zombie like throws its head at you and you turn into this like gooey blob zombie creature, you can now pass through certain like almost like grates, whereas you couldn't before. And so it's an interesting concept. And there's also a fucking day-night cycle in this game where, depending on if you enter a level during the day or during the night, it will affect the levels completely different. So it is a fairly unique game, but I didn't spend as much time with it as I maybe should have. But that's just because while it is unique, it's hard. Like I almost want to have like a guide, because there was multiple times where I got stuck and I just had no idea what I was supposed to be doing, because I was like, I feel like I've played all the levels that there are, and I feel like I've just spent so much time trying to get to this key or get to this thing, and I can't figure it out. And so I kind of like put that one to the side. But the reason that is because I had already started Mega Man Legends, and I just was fucking all about that. I wanted to any time I wasn't playing Mega Man Legends 2, I wanted to be playing Mega Man Legends 2. So let's talk about Mega Man Legends 2.
Is this your first time playing Mega Man Legends 2, or?
Yes, it's my first time playing the sequel to Mega Man Legends. I'd never played the sequel before. I'd only ever played the first one.
Didn't you play the first one for 1996?
I think Crispy did.
Month? Oh, okay. I knew somebody had played it. Was that a 96 game?
Yeah, I lent Crispy my Vita TV so he could play it. I have played that game multiple times. I have, like I was talking about it with chat when I was streaming. I have one of the OG discs, the Black Label Mega Man Legends. Like the disc is pristine. When I got that game, I fell in love with it. I kept it like safe and secure because how much I enjoyed that game. I've played the first one probably 2 or 3 times. But once again, I kind of talked about it on my chat. But when I played Mega Man Legends, I loved it. But then I also didn't have any money, so it's not like I just go out and buy the second one. So I just never got around to playing the second one. What's up, Brad?
Real quick before you start, what I remember so much, the controversy back in the day was that when the first Mega Man Legends came out, on the cover and when you first start the game, he doesn't have his helmet. And everyone's like, what? Mega Man doesn't have his helmet. And then when the sequel comes out, he's got his fucking helmet on the cover and everyone's like, he's got his helmet.
So both games, you don't start with a helmet. And honestly, in both games, the helmet's an item. You can take it on and off whenever you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to wear the helmet.
You get it quicker in this one, though, right?
You do. And so that's one thing I want to talk about is the original Mega Man Legends is a little bit slower paced. You don't start out with much. It doesn't give you much. You saw here that I was kind of skating around pretty fast. That's an jet skates, I think, in the first game. You don't get to like halfway through the first game. Like you were, for a long time, walking around very slowly. Versus this, you get the jet skates in like 30 to 40 minutes. You get them. I mean, don't get me wrong. You have to find them.
And then you never take them off again.
Yeah. You have to find them. And that's one of the things about this game is you have to go, like, there's just a shop that will sell stuff. And if you don't go to that shop and buy the stuff there, you just don't know it's there and you don't get it. There are certain things where you'll find like parts and you have to go to Roll and see like, hey, can you build something out of this? And she's like, well, I could if I had this. And now you're on the lookout for another part that you can also bring back to Roll and have her, create some new weapon or some new thing. Brad, you look like you wanted to say something.
Oh, have you been calling this Rockman Dash 2 because of the embarrassing North American cover?
Yes, dude,
versus
the
awesome
North American
Japanese
box art for this game is atrocious, but the Japanese box art is fucking amazing. If you saw
time to Google,
if you saw the tweet from today with the GIF of the Mega Man, that is the Japanese box art. And holy shit,
it's like Eco.
It's
like Eco. Like
it is.
Where they took
much
a really
better.
bad like 3D model for the American version, but the Japanese version has all this cool hand drawn art.
Dude, it's
oh
so
my
precious.
god, why? Why are we like this? Why do we do this,
dude? Right?
Every fucking
they think
time.
It's not
Americans
us.
are
It's the
dummies.
publishers. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, it's not
But
us.
anyway,
But like they're publishers in Japan that have.
Rockman Dash 2. It's great. It starts out a lot faster than the first game, like I said. The reasoning is Roll's like, hey, I sold a bunch of your items because we needed money to fix up the ship, and so that's why you're missing all of your items. But you recover some of them pretty quickly. Like I said, you get like a drill arm. Like I had mentioned earlier when I was talking about Tron Bonne, Mega Man is a digger. He goes into ruins and he digs, I guess. You don't really do a whole lot. But one of the things you can get is a drill arm. So there's certain walls that you can use the drill arm to drill, and they break open and opens up a new area for you.
Tight. Red Faction.
But dude, there are so many really unique like items and stuff and weapons. So like similar to Mega Man games. And don't get me wrong, I am not a Mega Man fan. I will not by any means say that I am. I do not really like old school Mega Man games. They're okay. I've just never been a fan of them. Legends, on the other hand, is right up my fucking alley. With the way you get items. You can see right here, I'm actually talking with Roll about potentially upgrading an item. So I have like homing missiles. I have an aqua gun that shoots like water. Eventually later on, you start getting even crazier stuff. You start getting like larger like missiles. You get an arm that's a vacuum. And you're like, what the fuck? Who cares about a vacuum? But dude, when you're killing like 5 or 6 enemies at once and they're dropping a bunch of Zinni on the ground and it disappears after a short period of time, that vacuum arm comes in real fucking handy. Because normally normally when enemy dies, they blow up, and so a bunch of they look like rupees, kind of their gems or whatever they're called, zenny, and as well as that. Items that refill your health and items that refill your kind of like your special meter ability for your secondary weapon will fall on the ground.
But they despawn really quick.
They despawn fast, and so it's almost like early on in the game you were killing a single enemy and then running up and collecting the shit before you even look at the other enemies because you don't want to lose it. But once you get that vacuum arm, dude, you just suck it right up. It's so fucking satisfying.
Yeah.
But similar to that, like I said, I'm at a junk shop, and you can see all the different upgrades you can get. You can get upgrades to your health. You have like little canteens that refill stuff. You can get like chips that like Mega Man is like a little robot. You can buy upgrades for him that make him resistant to electricity, or make him the way he interacts with like the floor, whatever. Like lots of different changes. So the story of this game, I don't want to get into that. It's kind of a little over the top, but the Mega Man Legends games, I guess, have always kind of been over the top story. Like there's this legend of the Mother Lode, which every digger is after the Mother Lode. They are trying to find it so that they can hit it big and be the richest person. And that's always been like the legend, and no one's ever found it. But you always hear rumors like, oh, it's over here, and so everyone's always searching for it. The beginning of this game, a bunch of crazy crap happens, and they see like someone who Roll thinks is her mother. Like her parents had disappeared a long time ago. And so now we're kind of following that lead, like, where is this lady going, and what's up with this? And so that kind of leads you on this quest to like, this group is like, hey, if you help me, we'll help you, kind of help each other out. And so you're after these refactors, which are giant like gyms, and they're in the bottoms of ruins, and so you have to find a ruin, go in there, fight all the enemies. The Reaver bots is what they're called. A bunch of very unique. The
dungeons essentially are means of getting to these.
Exactly. The refactors, which are generally used, I think, for like power sources. They're like giant gyms that are used for power. And so they have very unique enemies in these dungeons. One of the ones I was playing when I was streaming the other day was, it's one of those things where, doors are locked over here, so you have to go to a different direction, unlock that door, now you can go that way. But you're fighting like similar enemies to the first game, but there are definitely a lot of new ones. There are these kind of like samurai-esque looking guys. They have like the big hats, but they have like a shield, so obviously if you shoot them, your bullets just bounce off. But you can, if you have like a missile, you can blow up their shield, or you have to kind of skirt around them to go around their shield and stuff like that. But one of the cool things is you can see by default, if you look at my screen on the right hand side, you'll see like a little claw, and that's just you have like a lifter arm that you can use. So a lot of times when you knock down an enemy, you can pick them up and throw them at another enemy, which is always satisfying because it does a bunch of damage and usually takes one out of commission. But then at the end of every...
What's that little monkey thing that's like always clapping on the ground when you're walking up to your ship?
That's Data. Data is just a cute little monkey guy. One of the problems with our ship early on, when you start, is Roll asks Data to go make lunch, and Data wants to make pizza, but then accidentally sets the kitchen on fire, which spreads fire throughout the entire ship, and you have to set it off. You have to put out the fire using your aqua arm, and you run into the kitchen, and Data's running around on fire, and he's like, I just wanted to make pizza.
This is why monkeys shouldn't be allowed to make food.
That is another thing.
He looks a little bit like the ape escape with
a little.
No, the Super Monkey Ball.
Yeah, like Super Monkey Ball.
Monkeys.
Yeah. One of the nice things about this game is a large majority of it is voice acted. There's a few times where there's like cutscenes where it's just quick text boxes, but a lot of it is voice acted. Any major story beat, anytime you're just interacting with anything that is not like a very, very side quest, it is voice acted. Some of that's good and some of it's bad. Not all of it's the best. There's this one group of these birds that like they'll put like weird accents on stuff, and I don't know if it's like that in the Japanese version. I don't have the Japanese version, so I don't know. My assumption is they might have been a little less over the top with some of their accents.
The way they animate the faces has always been really impressive in this series as well. Oh
yeah.
Because they animate like they're very anime style, but they animate like the lines and stuff on the face. Back in a time where there was like no face animation.
Yeah, everything was still
instead
and
of
just
making
the
like their
mouth move a
actual
little
like
bit.
Jaws movies. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
But it looks really good for the time. There's like lip syncing and stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about this game. It's one of those things where it's a Mega Man game that is not like any other Mega Man game. It's an adventure game where you are, like I said, going into dungeons, finding upgrades, buying upgrades for your weapons. It is completely 3D, as you can see here, as one of the combat scenarios with some of those birds and tanks and stuff. It is not like any other old school Mega Man game where it's side scrolling and you're shooting just dudes or whatever. At the end of a mission, you defeat an enemy and you get their ability. No, like in this, you have to explore those dungeons. There will be item upgrades that are hidden in a chest behind a wall somewhere, and if you don't find that in the dungeon, you don't get that weapon. It is not something that is like handed to you. You have to find it, because that's kind of one of the points of being.
Sounds satisfying.
Oh, it is. It's definitely. It's one of those things where I want to explore every nook and cranny of every dungeon I go in.
Dude,
Tell you what really impresses me is the size of the world. Like compared to the first game, it's gigantic. This overworld.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Chris Davis. The first game takes place kind of in one space. It is kind of a larger space, and you'll branch off places of this town to go into the different ruins. But in this, you actually I think once or twice you'll fly off to like an island and go there. But in this game, the Flutter, your ship, you actually fly it. You saw me on the overworld screen. You fly it to different islands and towns and villages whenever you want. It's one of those things where like as soon as you unlock the new area, you can fly there and you can go back to where you just came from or whatever. So while
flying airships around an open world was the hotness back then.
So while the individual places are a little bit smaller than the first game, just having one big place, there are more places that are larger than like in the old game, when you would take the Flutter and fly to an island, it was literally you landed on the island and you walked into the ruin, and that was it. You'll go to places where there's a town and there's people you can interact with. And I accidentally, during a fight, blew up a bunch of the houses in this town, and so now these people don't have houses, and so I have to pay to rebuild their houses.
As you should.
Yeah, to help them out because I accidentally blew up some of their houses. But yeah, there's the similar to like Tron Bonne, the story's kind of kooky. A lot of the characters are over the top. The Bonds are in this game. So Tron and her brother, Taisel, I can't ever remember how to say his name. It's weird. Teasel, yeah, Teasel.
Diesel with a T.
Yeah, there you go.
Teasel. I'll say this. Mm-hmm. In a world where Activision is making a fucking mint on remastering old PS1 collections like Crash, like Spyro, like now Tony Hawk, man, I feel like Mega Man Legends 1, 2, and Tron Bonne would be perfect because this is all 3D assets. You can make it look real nice, or even do new assets.
The funny thing is,
throw that collection on the Switch, and man, that shit would be fucking awesome. And modernize the controls, because I think one of the hard things to go back to with this series is that the controls are kind of clunky, like the way you turn Mega Man. So
in this, you can
modernize that.
They did allow you to use the right analog stick to turn in this game. So
it's a little bit
Nick,
better, but it's still really clunky.
I know you might have been frustrated if you play Mega Man Legends, because especially the OG one, to turn left and right, it's not a stick, it's the triggers. So you move around essentially forwards and backwards and any 3D space just with the right analog stick.
It does make movement feel slow and sluggish.
But to turn, you have to use the triggers, which can get frustrating. But you get used to it after a while.
Early 3D.
Yeah. But yeah, Brad, I agree with you. And it was funny because actually someone popped in the chat the other day and was like, man, this game looks so much better. Like, is this like a remake or something? But it's honestly, it's just the PS3 smoothing function. The smoothing function makes the game look even better. At one point, I turned it off, and yes, you can tell it drastically looks different. And so
I turned off the smoothing on Dino Crisis and Breath of Fire, and they both looked considerably better.
So I agree that it would probably be fairly easy to automate the scaling process of this game, to scale up the assets, to smooth them out, to make them look a little bit better, and repackage the game. Yeah, add a few new features, and it would sell like crazy. I would definitely be all about that. And one of the things we talked about in my stream the other day was there was a Mega Man Legends 3. Like, it was in development. It wasn't just like a concept. And the funny thing is, it's actually just like a couple of months ago, some footage from it leaked. like some stuff that had never been seen before. Not leaked, but it got released online. Stuff that no one had ever seen before.
The thing about Mega Man Legends 3 is they sold a demo. They actually sold a demo and then canceled the game after that. So you can find a physical copy of the demo. I think it was only released in Japan for Mega Man Legends 3, and it's like, that's crazy. Because even back then it was like, they're selling a demo? That's insane.
Wow.
But I think it was the physical version of it. But yeah, that's kind of sad. And Concept did try to kickstart a spiritual successor called Red Ash, and it wasn't a successful Kickstarter because this was post Mighty Number 9 and people didn't trust them. But the anime, there was a separate Kickstarter for a Red Ash anime, and that was successful. But I don't think they ever did anything with it. It was one of those funded Kickstarters that never actually came about.
Yikes!
But so. Yeah, that sucks. And I really wish they had done a third one of this. I mean, fuck, do it now. Start from scratch. Just 2020, start working on a Mega Man Legends 3 that is completely new compared to what they did in the past. I would be all about that. But one of the things...
I am honestly shocked it hasn't happened, that it hasn't actually come to pass yet.
Yeah.
Because Mega Man, just in general, still has an audience.
Oh, definitely.
You know...
But one of the things I was saying earlier, you'll notice none of these cutscenes are subtitled, but that's because all of it's voice acted. I wish they could do both. Unfortunately, there is not a setting for that. But yeah, and you look at Mega Man's face. Look, you can tell he's fucking angry. Like they put emotion into them. But yeah, this game is great.
This is only 2 years after Final Fantasy VIII, where all the characters' faces just look like pixely blobs.
Yep.
It's pretty impressive.
It's a fantastic game. If you've never played the Mega Man Legends games, you can get both of them on PSN for like $6 or something like that. It's pretty cheap. Yeah.
Or on the Vita, right, Brad?
Yeah, you can play them on the Vita. If you buy it on the PSN store, I think you can play them on the Vita TV, PS3. It's compatible with all of them. Yeah.
Well, here's a question. I wonder, because I bought Breath of Fire 4 on the PSN. If I bought a Vita and then downloaded that Breath of Fire 4 on my Vita, could I transfer the save?
I think you might be able to. Yeah.
I want to look into that.
But yeah, that's Mega Man Legends 2.
I do want a Vita.
I'm like I said, this is one of the games that cool guys never look at explosions, by the way. This is one of the games that I plan on finishing. I think it's only maybe around like mid 20 hours or something like that, if even. It might be a little less. I guess it depends on how much you do. There's definitely things in this game that are optional. Like I remember the first game had this fucking dope ass laser, but the only way you could get it was by completing the museum collection, and so you had to find all these really rare objects and donate them to the museum, and when you did, you would get this really cool like fucking laser that would just do massive damage. Oh, by the way, there's like a fucking karma system in this game, and if you're a dick to people, you get negative karma, and if you're nice to people, you get positive karma, and you can become like evil Mega Man. His armor literally turns like a super dark blue, almost black. And then people
by like kicking people and shit?
Yeah, you can kick people and you can kick animals and stuff, and people get mad at you, and you will become like evil Mega Man, and people will be mean to you when you interact with them. And I think prices in stores go up if you do that. But vice versa, you can be nice to people. You can donate money to like this like church, and you can do this other stuff. And if you save people, your armor turns lighter, and you become like a light like good like Mega Man. It's like a very light blue. But yeah,
what happened to your game? It didn't loop.
I think that might have been the end of the footage, yeah. But anyway,
I love these low
game.
poly like objects so much. This room looks cool.
Yeah, there were some really cool looking games back in this era. But
it was a good year.
It was a good year, good generation. I think just in general, like PS1 had some pretty awesome stuff on it. I have one more game to talk about. Oh. I don't have a ton to say about it. It's Banjo-Tooie.
What happened?
What happened? I mean, nothing happened. I will. So, Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie are both games that I've wanted to like really let myself just get lost in for so long. Like, it's up there. It represents that era of like Nintendo platformers, Super Mario 64 around that time. And it's just, it has that rare charm to it and humor, and I love it. And I really enjoyed what I played of Banjo-Kazooie a few years ago. But I had never touched Banjo-Tooie. I figured Banjo-Tooie was going to be, more Banjo-Kazooie, more of the same. And for, in a lot of ways it is. It plays, very similarly in terms of just the platforming and running around and what do they call it, where the run where Kazooie like comes out of the backpack and does most of the running.
I can't remember what it's called, but yeah.
There's a name for it. Chat knows what I'm talking about. But it's great. What I didn't realize is Banjo-Tooie is a fucking huge game, comparatively speaking to Banjo-Kazooie. I remember in Banjo-Kazooie going into a level. You have the kind of the hub world, and then you go into a level, and it's kind of like Mario 64 in that you have little objectives and collections and stuff. And I could spend like 30 minutes on a level and be 100% the level. I streamed this game for almost 3 hours the other night, and I spent like half that time in like one world or like one level, and everything just feels so much bigger, and I couldn't quite figure out why it felt so much bigger and why everything felt so like I feel like I was taking so much longer to accomplish what I was trying to accomplish. And to me, it comes down to the big thing they introduced in Banjo-Tooie is the ability to play as additional characters, multiple characters. You have Mumbo. Is it Mumbo Jumbo?
Yeah, Mumbo Jumbo.
Mumbo.
Yeah.
And there's like 2 other characters too. I just don't remember who they are off the top of my head. But the only, and you have to obviously switch back and forth between them to accomplish certain objectives in the levels. The problem is to become them, you literally have to switch between these forms. You literally have to go to that person's like house and talk to them, or jump into this like pool. So like you could be in one level and then realize, oh, I need to be Mumbo to do this. So you have to like literally fast travel out of that dungeon all the way into another part of the world. Go into the house, talk to him, change forms, and then backtrack all the way back, fast travel if you can, to that area, just to accomplish like one thing. And you're constantly doing this back and forth because you don't want to spend the entire time playing as Mumbo, because you obviously can't do a lot of the things that Banjo-Kazooie can do.
Here's the thing, Nick. Banjo-Kazooie is a beloved game, and when I played it, like in the past, what I play for 98 month or something, or 96 month,
something like that.
Yeah,
98 month. I really, really enjoyed it. But then I started looking into Tooie, and this game was not as widely loved at all compared to the first one.
I think that's kind of the crux of it.
It has its fans, but like from what I understand, it's like this very way too big and kind of tedious game.
They were a little too ambitious with the game. They tried to do a little too much. Not saying it's a bad game. It's just one of those things where I agree with you, Nick. It is a little tedious at times.
It's fucking honestly, like, because I'm playing on the Rare Collection again, which Rare Replay, which is still a fantastic way to play these games. But to be honest, and like I said, Banjo-Kazooie is a game I really want to commit to finishing. But I think I'm gonna have to stick with the first one. I don't think I'm gonna see the second one through to the end because it's too much.
2 questions, Nick. Question number 1. Did you get the transformation?
The transformation? What do you mean?
You can transform into a T-Rex in this game.
Oh, no. I did not get the...
You got to at least play until you get the T-Rex, Nick. Come on.
Did you at least get the washing machine?
No.
I thought the washing machine was the first game.
Right. The level that I stopped in, I was in like a cave with a train. It was like a train, and I accessed the train. All right. Well, I haven't gotten to a lot of the cool transformations. You know what I will say? I was thinking while I was playing this, I was thinking about Yooka-Laylee and how Yooka-Laylee was literally, but like a lot of the influences of Yooka-Laylee come from Banjo. I think Tooie more than Banjo-Kazooie because of these transformations. But in Yooka-Laylee, you could do them on the fly.
I think that was one of the things that
would help so much.
One of the few benefits in Yooka-Laylee. I was not a Yooka-Laylee fan. being a fan of Banjo-Kazooie, like trying to play ukulele, I just was not a fan of the world or the way you interacted with a lot of things. I don't want to get into that.
I had a problem with the camera a lot. The
camera
camera
wasn't
caused a lot of frustrations in ukulele, but like I still think I would rather play ukulele than banjo.
I'm fine
People are
because
meaner to that game than it deserves. I think
Maybe.
it meant well.
It definitely meant well, and I like where they came from. It's one
probably
of those
just felt
things
dated.
where I'm not hating on the game because some love or something for Banjo-Kazooie is so much better. I just didn't enjoy playing it. That's my own thing.
I mean, I myself only spent like 5 hours. I kickstarted it, only played it for like 5 hours before I put it down. But I'm just thinking about it in comparison to my time with Banjo-Tooie, and I'm just like, I feel like my time would be better
rough
spent
around
playing
the
ukulele.
edges.
I think both of these games are. I mean, but like honestly, I just kind of want to go back and finish playing Banjo-Kazooie because that
I
game.
thought you
is
just finished it.
I would definitely
I
recommend
didn't finish it,
finishing
but it's
Banjo-Kazooie. Yes.
It's a much tighter experience, and
It is a
honestly,
solid
I think
game.
it's the best of the 3 games we just talked about. So
Next question though, because I never got to my second question. Second question: have you played Nuts and Bolts?
no, I knew that was coming
Nuts
too.
and Bolts is so fucking good. It is.
Don't.
It is
Banjo-Kazooie
so
fans
much
will
better.
kill you for saying that. though.
Yeah, I know.
It's true, though.
I have completed the first Banjo-Kazooie at least 3 times. I've completed the second one maybe once and like a half. I played it like 1.5 times. Nuts and Bolts I've played like 3 times as well. It is a completely different game. Like it is the world and the humor and the feeling is the same, but just the way you interact with the world with the vehicles that you build is so unique. And it is one of those situations where it is like your brain is your only limitation. Like I had so much fun trying to create vehicles that could do everything, car, plane, boat, whatever, but it was never as good as making one that was like a solid, like this is a boat and this is what it does. It's always so much better. But just
Are
being
you from
able
the
to
future, Nolan? Are you from the future?
Oh, sorry.
Sounds like crazy talk.
Getting into the weeds a little bit there. But anyway, I say you need to play that. But anyway. I would say at least play Banjo-Tooie until you get to the T-Rex.
It's on the Rare Replay collection, I think. Right?
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't think it is. I don't think Nuts and Bolts is.
It's I don't know.
I mean, it's a Rare game, right?
You could play everything on an Xbox, but yeah. But back when Rare was doing cool things like Nuts and Bolts and Viva Pinata, but people were still butthurt about Banjo-Kazooie, the original, and
I think I was wrong,
doing
Nick.
brilliant
I think
shit.
you're right.
And now all they make is Sea of Thieves, and people are sad. Except people like Sea of Thieves.
Hey, they're making the Is it Everwild? Is that
What the
it's
fuck
called?
is that?
I don't know.
It's like Destiny.
I don't know. Makes me sad. All right,
All right, let's wrap this
kinda...
up so we can talk about Batman real quick.
No.
Wait, you're the one saying no?
I mean, I feel like I do want to talk about it, but I'm also. Okay, let's wrap this up. Are we doing a 4-player minute? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Fuck it.
I'm excited about Valkyrie Profile too. That's my hype.
All right. This is our. I mean, this is the end. We still have a couple more streams to go. This is kind of more or less the end of Y2K month. We're almost to
Tomorrow
September.
night, my first Friday stream in a while, but I'll be playing some stuff.
What are you gonna play? Give us a hint,
Can't
Brad.
you
Give
say
us a
stuff?
tease.
Yeah.
I still got a lot of shit that I haven't touched, but I can't decide if I want to just stick to like 2 things or 1 thing, or just play like a whole bunch. I still got a lot. I want to play some
Nolan,
Tony
what are you
Hawk
playing
2.
on Saturday? Or
Mega Man
Saturday?
Legends 2.
Oh yeah, cool.
I
All
might
right.
play some Tron Bonne as well, but it's definitely Mega Man Legends 2 for me.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we will wrap it up there. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll get back to our regular style shows starting next week. I don't know what we'll talk about yet. This will be our first regular show in a while, but we'll talk about some current stuff. I want to remind everybody to join our Discord, discord.gg/4player. We love to hang out and talk about stuff in there all day, all kinds of stuff. Oh shit, you got Tenchu 2? That game's pretty dope. Sorry, Brad. Brad's distracting me by showing off all the games he has to play. What's that? I can't read that, Brad.
You can read that, right?
Fear Effect?
Oh,
Fear Effect.
Oh, my camera's all
Fear
shit.
Effect. Brad does, in fact, have more stuff to play. But yeah, we'll get back to our regularly scheduled podcast next week. We'll talk about some current stuff. Patreon.com/4Player if you would like to support us financially. We'd appreciate it. And yeah, you can find all of our episodes on 4playernetwork.com. We'll get back to doing weekly shows starting next week, although I might be out on the second week of September, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed reminiscing about the year 2000 with us for this month. It's a pretty good year. It's a pretty solid year. Why are y'all... Stop flashing all your games around.
Like, the camera looks all shitty. You can't even tell.
Making me want to play video games. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next week with another episode of the show. Until then, stay safe.